excited about our next speakers. We have a trio of cross-industry experts on culture, business, digital transformation, excellence, innovation in financial services. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Bülent Uyaniker, Jim Vries, and C. Bunevich, who are going to be here with us for our next session. Quick bios on each one of these terrific leaders. Dr. Bülent Uyaniker is a physicist and the founder of Data Speckle Scientific in British Columbia. He focused on complex imaging and data science problems. He's a senior AI researcher and director of academic affairs at Fuse Machine and the founder of Data Speckle Scientific. He has led technical groups and scientists, established research labs, taught physics, which is my major as well, medical imaging, computer science, and cosmology courses at the Max Planck Institute, Husberg Institute, and the University of British Columbia. He is joined by C. Bunevich, who joined Fuse Machines in 2015 after a long career in finance as VP of Partnerships. Fuse Machine is an AI consulting, talent, and education company serving the financial services industry with a social mission to democratize artificial intelligence. C is currently expanding Fuse Machine's AI educational business in the Americas, and she commutes between New York City and Cape Cod, and I understand she is like in Nantucket, Massachusetts today, so we all should be jealous about where she is at today. Jim Vries, our great Jim Vries, who has been a longtime speaker, keynote speaker, and host of this event in the past, has served as resilient enterprise executive leader and advisor for companies from startups to Fortune 50. He oversees the global identification, prioritization, and execution of high-value business improvements and innovations for the company's business partners and customers in multiple markets that he serves. He has held operational excellence, sales and supply chain and sales leadership positions in leading global companies in the chemicals industry with Air Products and Chemicals, in energy with GE Energy, security with Tyco ADT, and supply chain with CH Robinson. Throughout his career, he has developed and refined resilient enterprise ecosystems to accelerate digital transformation, innovation, leadership development, strategy execution, and value creation globally. He believes that people make a difference, and it is in harnessing people's talent that companies can become resilient. Ladies and gentlemen, what a pleasure to have you here with us. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts, your expertise, and your experiences with our global community today.
Thank you, Jose, and the BTOES team for providing us the time and to speak with you today about our passion about harnessing a digital AI-infused operational excellence to drive your competitive differentiation. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. The presentation over the last 2 days have been very insightful, providing many differences of perspectives on how to support and enable financial systems to move to that next operational performance level. Dr. Bülent Uyaniker and C. Bunevich and I have been working together to provide thought leadership to applying AI solutions that we are excited to share with you our experience on how to build that resilient digital AI-infused resilient digital ecosystem. We will be sharing the building blocks with case studies and examples and how you can infuse AI into your organization. As we all know, in doing this one thing to complete the AI project, it is quite another thing to integrate an AI ecosystem across your business and integrate it into your execution cadence. We look forward to your questions at the end of the webinar. And so let's get started here. Our agenda is threefold. We're going to start with, defining what financial services operational excellence in an AI world could look like. Why do we need it? What does it encompass? And where has there been success in the different financial service areas? Then number two, we'll get into enabling the digital transformation journey. We'll give you some of the building blocks. And then Bülent and C will provide an overview and practical AI approaches to support financial services with roadmaps and examples. So let's get started here. So I just saw this the other day.
Jim, just a real quick note here. We are not able to see your presentation just yet, so please make sure that you're showing the presentation on the sharing tab.
Sorry.
Perfect. We see it now. Thank you.
Thank you. So, getting started here on the financial services area. This is something I saw on in LinkedIn post by McKinsey. Their dialogue perspectives on reimagining operations for growth and the workforce management. There's a hyper acceleration, of course, in this fourth industrial revolution, which we've been talking about probably for the last 10 years. But more and more folks are understanding that digital solutions, along with their entire value chain, includes production networks, end-to-end value chains, and support functions, including HR, finance, and IT. In turn, of ways of working are also evolving. So we're changing, we're more remote, but we still need those fundamentals of that end-to-end value chain. We have lots of methodologies out there, Agile, Lean Six Sigma, all different ways to drive cross-functional teams and rapid iterative processes. The critical link lies in companies' ability to upskill talent at the same scale and pace as technology. So look at this as the foundation for what's going on in the marketplace. But when we look at this, is this anything new that we've been talking about? We can go back to 1985 with the value chains. We're still talking about the same fundamentals that Porter did back in 1985. And that article could just be looked at as a complete replication of what Porter espoused back then. And Porter identified the primary end-to-end value chain processes in inbound, outbound, logistics, operations, marketing, sales, services, in those core competency areas that the McKinsey article referenced. So all this is going back to the fundamentals. A lot like Rios had mentioned before, we can't forget our fundamentals, and we have to provide the background to understand where we've been able to gain the biggest bang for your buck in applying the resilient digital ecosystem. Where are your bottlenecks and challenges? Aligning your efforts to impact versus effort perspective will guide you to identify and prioritize the areas that are most in need to be addressed. So another survey from McKinsey, and what we can see here from this survey is that—
Jim, we are not able to see your slides again. I'm not sure why, but it stopped showing your screen again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The most proven areas are from the McKinsey report, where they've been doing digital transformation work, has been in the general areas of accounting, cash disbursement, revenue management, financial controlling and reporting. The research indicated that 42% of the finance activities are fully automatable using currently demonstrated technologies, and another 19% are mostly automatable. So as we can see, there's a lot of movement here, and if you speak to most companies, they are focusing their efforts of digitization in these spaces. So this will continue. Next, we're going to get into enabling the digital transformation and process mining to RPA to hyper automation roadmap. So this is a roadmap that we had put together a number of years ago, the team, including Bülent and C. And what we found is it more of a maturity level model. And we call it the three pillars of the resilient digital ecosystem. In the first pillar, we have data, the second pillar, visibility, and the third, artificial intelligence. And you can look at from maturity from bottom left to top right. So building the capabilities from data mining, enterprise information management, through digital twins in the center, through machine learning on the right. It's really the whole holistic ecosystem of building these capabilities together that's going to get you where you want to be. If you're trying to do just a computer vision project, but you haven't done process mining or some of these basic tools on the left, you're not going to be able to sustain that change. So this is our backdrop as we move forward. And the process that McKinsey brought up a number of years ago was, we have Lean Six Sigma and process design and business process outsourcing. And they said, well, we need digitalization, hyper-automation, advanced analytics. But what they left off was, again, this need for believable data with enterprise information management and data cleansing and mining. And we'll get into those in just a few minutes. So how do you know that your data can be used as a competitive asset? One of the biggest challenges we have is we're still making decisions based on our experience, not on actual data. So this overview provides an overview, or this, on the y-axis you have your competitive advantage, on the x-axis you have analytical maturity, and it is going through each of these phases of maturity that you're able to drive your competitive asset using data. So most of us may be using data as in the descriptive analytics, where we're looking at data that's already captured, or are we using data that's more predictive, prescriptive, and cognitive? And that a cognitive is a learning system. So I'd ask you to think about, when you're making decisions day to day across your enterprise, from finance all the way to operations, what type of data are you collecting and how are you using that data to make your decisions? And one of the fundamental areas is what Tom Davenport, another guy in the 1990s, put out, is this enterprise information framework. And even Vries at the last presentation was bringing a lot of things up that were actually brought up by Davenport back in the 90s. And that is, it starts with risk management. Do you have trustworthy data? And that's coming together in spades today. Then it's creating value out of that data. And then it's able to make decisions from that data. So where are you on this journey? Are you able to build data marts? Do you have a digital twin? Are you using data as data? Are you using it for information? And then how do you use that data from a knowledge perspective? So these are all things that are fundamentals that we would want you to think about as you look at the different areas within the financial services area on applying. So from source to play to order to cash, which are the bread and butter of financial services, to recording, doing your quarterly reports, treasury, tax. All these are fantastic areas to apply these fundamentals. And on the top, we have all the different tools that can be used. So it's really a question of, when do you use the tool, how you use the tool for each of these areas. And this is what we'll be covering in the next few slides. So if you're in finance, you're all familiar with invoice to cash, one of the core areas, from services rendered through cash apps. We're not espousing through using digitization that we throw away all the Lean Six Sigma type of tools. We still need to map our processes, understand our inputs and outputs. So, don't forget that you'll still want to be able to do that, but there's some really cool tools to help you map the processes that we were not able to do in the past. So probably the best tool out there right now, just to get an understanding of what's going on in your systems, is process mining. Van der Waal is the father of process mining, a Dutchman like myself, and he came up with this in around 2000, and it's fantastic process. So both Davenport and Van der Waal are the guys that built some of these fundamental building blocks that we're just now starting to realize. But it's very important to understand these underlying processes. But it's also important to understand that whatever you enter into process mining, each of these given stages, like create a promise order, price of change, goods receipts, invoice booking, those are activities within your system. And so process mining is fantastic and needed, but it's only as good as the data in the system. If there's other activities that are going on outside the system, you will need additional types of technology or process mapping. Maybe even, you'll still need to do the process map manually. And this only captures the inputs and outputs that the system captures. You may not be capturing critical areas or critical X's in your process that are preventing your process not to perform as it was originally intended. So the next area is hyperautomation, which is made up of robotics process automation, machine learning, intelligent business process systems, and artificial intelligence. So all of these areas are combined in this new term that came out from our friends at Gartner. So everybody keeps on renaming things to gather brownie points, I think. So RPA, of course, is good for data entry in web-based legacy apps and knowledge worker completing high-value tasks. AI can be brought in for data collection and intelligent extraction, data validation, notifications, and human approval, and knowledge workers completing highly valued tasks, of course, AI. And then intelligent business process management systems can help out in the data validation and extending the process to the next level. So this is an example that we have on driving just data entry into account creation for our client. And you can see that, you can use the bots for the data application, the data entry into the legacy system, OCR for appraisal reporting, and account creation for the legacy system. And then for AI, the smart bots can be used to categorize small emails using natural language processing, automate data entry from images via optical character recognition, computer vision. And then furthermore, Nivitas has integrated predictive fraud analysis into their hyperautomation platform. So this is the next frontier. And the nice thing about these types of onboardings, for a targeted area, you can go in and 2 to 4 weeks generate significant value by using these type of tools. So once you process mine, you know where you're going to focus in your organization, then this type of a case study can be done in a very short amount of time. So they're monitoring over 2,500 invoices in this payment process, invoice payment for a manufacturing firm, and they got a 90% reduction in total turnaround time, 1,000 staff hours saved per month, and 100% reduction in manual errors. So a very significant impact, and they did this in just 2 weeks of on the ground focusing with that company. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to C, and she's going to bring us through the next area. C?
Sure. Waiting for my picture to come on. Wait a sec. That's weird. Can you see me, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about practical financial applications.
See, we're not able to see you right now. You need to toggle your camera on the
I
interface.
thought I had. Let me try it again. Okay.
There you go.
Now we can see you. Thank you.
Great. So Jim, why don't we turn to the next slide where we're going to talk about ADER. Great. So ADER is a scoping framework that we created at Fuse Machines. And this is how we speak to prospects and clients about identifying if the project they want to do is a good project for AI. A stands for algorithm feasibility. When you work with a data scientist, he or she can help you right away figure out based on your problem, which algorithms are going to work for your challenge and which ones are a waste of time. So it's important to work with people who really understand algorithms and don't waste a lot of time. I stands for impact. If you're going to take on an AI challenge, which will take you time and you will spend some money, you want to make sure that you have tremendous impact. So you really want to make sure that your return on investment is worth it. D stands for data. Data is the most important part of the journey, and it's probably accounts for 80% of your success in any AI project. So we'll talk more about the data later, but I just want to reiterate, data is the key to success, and preparing your data is something that we can all be working on in our institutions, and making sure that data is, as I say, revered, and people properly organize their data so it can be used for AI challenges. And R stands for recurrence in our ADER framework. Recurrence means, we all know what it means, this is a recurring issue, because you want something where you're collecting data constantly, because you're going to be feeding your model the new data, and the model's going to get better and better. And that's one of the main differences between AI and other forms of analysis. You're constantly improving as you feed the model new data. Bülent is going to now share with us how AI can be used in financial services. Bülent, please join.
Thank you very much, C. So I'm going to provide some perspective from the AI and just try to give some examples of what kind of algorithms we use, what kind of branches that AI is tackling with for the financial services. The whole idea here is obviously extracting information and converting that information into usable insight. That's the whole idea behind using AI. As the data sources and amount of data increases, it is becoming very difficult to use old and existing statistical methods to do that task, so we turn into AI. On the right-hand side here, so we do see two columns. On the right-hand side, we do see the branches that we are routinely using in AI applications. Those are, this is not a complete list, but those are machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and computer vision as four pillars of AI, so to say. And among them, obviously, there are some topics that are intertwined with all these topics, basically speech, natural language understanding, and natural language generation, and at the same time, expert systems, which is being an old system, but all of them together we can call as the umbrella of AI. These approaches and these branches basically correspond to all these algorithms or the applications that we see on the left-hand side. And all of these groupings of regressions, classification, and predictive analytics, we can basically summarize under three groups. What we do is we try to understand the data and extract information. So in that, we usually have a bunch of data we would like to group together. Those are the algorithms that we simply summarize under a classification group. So basically what we try to do is we place the objects into predefined groups, and this is just at the same time called pattern recognition together. So pattern recognition and classification together is one of the most important things that we do see in financial applications as well as in general AI applications. For these groups, we do see applications like fraud detection, management and prevention, and risk management. All these kind of problems can be addressed using classification algorithms. The next topic usually is the regression. Regression means that you have some input variables and you do try to figure out the association between your input variables and the output variables that you're going to be getting. So those type of algorithms are irrelevant of which method you're using, called regression. And those regression analysis can be used for price prediction and algorithmic trading and many other applications. On the left-hand side, so we do see the associations of these algorithms with the corresponding branches of AI. Regression and classification, we do see very much associated with machine learning in general. Obviously, this does not mean that we cannot use regression and classification algorithms in computer vision. The whole idea here is there are so many different sources of information that are coming to us, and we are trying to gather information, collect them, transform them, and extract information and make them wisdom if possible. We do see here is that the information coming from text that can be translated, that can be clustered, grouped, and used in regression analysis when the data is in numeric nature. Sometimes data comes from speech, and we need to really convert that into the natural language understanding. So we need to extract information from speech, convert that into text, and go again for regression or classification algorithms. Sometimes the information is embedded in images or video, and we need to use computer vision algorithms to extract that information into meaningful data and translate that into text or numerical values and process that further. We do see a lot of applications that includes invoice conversion, data automation, and process automation under the group of machine vision and image recognition, object localization, speech-to-text conversion, and grouping, obviously. In the next slide, we're going to be talking a little bit about the details of the applications that we have built, just to give you a taste of what kind of problems can be addressed using these automation methods and artificial intelligence methods. Here is one example that we have just generated. This is an automated invoice processing system. The whole idea is there are so many different sources of invoice. They're all formatted differently. And our goal is to extract that information from unstructured data, so to say, and try to figure out which field is where. So this is a combination of text mining, natural language processing, and computer vision at the same time all together. And here the idea is just get that information from that embedded document and convert that into meaningful numbers so that they can be processed further. We have built an algorithm for this one, and the collection of all these algorithms that is bringing natural language processing, computer vision, and text mining together, we call it as Fuse Extract, which simply extracts all that information from all these sources and converts that into data that can be processed for the business purposes. The next one is actually a little bit different. And in the next example, we do see another example of computer vision, but at the same time, deep learning algorithms can be used together. Most of the time, like in the example of an invoice, we do have an invoice in front of us, and we do know which fields we would like to extract, and the invoice is usually one or several pages. But suppose that you have billions of documents and billions of pages, and you would like to extract some information, but you don't know where the information is. In this particular case, there are financial tables embedded and published yearly, and there are hundreds of these pages, and it's almost impossible to go and extract that information manually. But at the same time, for the algorithm, it's very difficult to figure out where that information is. That information usually is given in the cover page for the company name and people that are interested in the company and some company-related information. But at the same time, given in those tables, those are documenting all these values, financial information, and graphs. So there it comes actually deep learning algorithms, because you don't know where they are. You train an algorithm. This is a computer vision deep learning algorithm that automatically browses through billions of pages and figures out what is a table, what is a graph, and what kind of information can be found on which page. Thereafter, we can return back to extracting that information like we did in the invoice case and extract that information. Here, we just show one example use case. which is just the Altman Z-score, which is usually used, I'm not a financial person, but which is usually used for the risk assessment, how healthy is that company, whether you would like to invest for this company, whether you would like to buy that company, or whether you would like to work with that company. That information can be quite easily extracted from the deep learning algorithms that are extracting financial tables, putting all that information together and making some calculations based on the expenses, the value of the company, and just calculating. This is a very simple calculation for the financial people, obviously, but getting that information, putting that information into the formula that you usually use is the main challenge. There actually AI is helping. So we have done this for this use case, and in the next slide, we do see some examples of Altman Z-score extracted from the documents. So basically, there are several applications that we can use artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms in order to gain insight for businesses, gather financial information, or automate any process that we do not want to do ourselves. Here we have a small list. I'm not going to be reading all of them, but it's quite obvious that payment methods is optimizing invoice processing, document automation is the key for the payment processing applications. The second one is the supplier onboarding. Obviously, so many things can be done manually, but automated ways of screening, examining tax details, credit scores, and finding all these grouped associations between these parameters can be done using machine learning and AI algorithms. Procurement is another area that we usually see the automation, because many of these things are usually being done manually, but processing those unstructured data using AI and ML techniques would expedite things, make things a lot faster and a lot secure. The same thing applies for the digitization of the auditing process and gathering information, and obviously providing at the same time the security that comes with it. The other area that we usually see is the cash flow monitoring, so monthly, quarterly cash flows, collecting that data from different sources and putting all of them together is a difficult task, and at the same time ensuring that this process is secure is just another task. Putting all of them together, AI and machine learning algorithms can make these things a lot faster, a lot secure, and they can actually warn the human processors in this case if there are any issues, if there are any problems that they need to tackle with. And obviously the expense management. On the whole, we didn't even go for the AI chatbots and machine learning algorithms that discover patterns from all of them. We did not even mention them, but on the whole, if we are going to be summarizing this slide in one sentence, digitization is actually the essence of all AI applications. We need to have that analog information that is on paper, that is on speech, or sometimes video, that are embedded in some certain different media, convert them in digital and processable form, then we just go to AI algorithms to extract information. Here, I just hand over to Jim. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Bülent. And Jose, I think that wraps us up. I want to thank everyone for listening to us today, and we look forward to some questions coming in.
Fantastic presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Bülent, Jim, and Carol for the insights on digital AI infused operational excellence. In the last couple of days, we have discussed the role of AI in business transformation, operational excellence, certainly focus on financial service. And specifically, we had a AI expert from Dell, Dr. Bill Wong, based in Toronto, Canada, who talked extensively about the implementation of AI systems for value creation. And I love the chart that Dr. Bülent had on the analytical approaches, regression, and so on and so forth, and then the real deep learning approaches that happen with neural networks, and then for true AI, because the term AI is being overhyped,
Right.
overused, misused.
Yeah,
You know,
Can't tell.
I had someone the other day
Yes,
with
I
Yeah.
some
call it the new
incredible
I.
analysis, and they talked about using artificial intelligence. I was like, Kyle, this is
Yeah,
multivariate regression. This is not artificial intelligence.
that's right.
So thank you for setting the record straight and talking about this next level. So you provided some really interesting use cases for artificial intelligence here, and this market and these applications are evolving so rapidly. One of the themes that has emerged in the questions has to do about what is reality right now for value creation of artificial intelligence, and maybe what's evolving in terms not the technology, but the use cases that are evolving, that you see evolving in financial services.
Bülent, you want to take that, or
Go ahead, please.
yeah, you go ahead. You go first.
Well, AI technologies and the problems that we are trying to solve with AI goes hand in hand with the development and complexity of the algorithms. Some problems we were not able to solve using AI or anything statistical in the past because of the lack of computing power. So now we have the computing power and we can tackle with the issues that we could not do before using these kind of algorithms. These algorithms are not new by any means. AI is just a very old field. It's just, it has the past approximately 50 years, even more. But now we have the power and we have the means of collecting data. I think collection of data is just one of the key aspects of the applications and use cases that we can do with AI. Previously, it was not thinkable to get deep learning algorithms extracting information from video scenes. It was impossible to think extracting or just browsing through billions of pages and getting all these financial information. It was impossible to get all this information from the web, just web scraping and getting information about companies, your competitors. This was not all possible. Now we do have the data. So actually presence of data is the first thing. And the second thing is the power to process that existing data. Those are revolutionizing the way that we are seeing the financial problems. If we don't have the tools, then we can't even think how to approach the problems that we want to solve. That is my take on that.
Just to build on that, what Bülent said is today we can, 5-10 years ago, bringing in multiple data sources for an overall picture profile, what's going on the floor, on a call center floor, or on an invoicing floor, or a call center, that was very, very difficult. But today we can bring all that data together into a data mart. And then we can apply these AI algorithms because of this greater computer power to solve and optimize things that people were talking about, but they were having a hard time saying. Now we can do this, but we can not only do it, over 6 or 8 months. Now we can do it over 2 or 3 weeks because of the systems that are available today.
I would like to add, we're using AI in money transfer today. We're using it in identification for security purposes of any transfer. And this is done in seconds, not minutes, or even nanoseconds. In other words, it's instantaneous. We couldn't have dreamed of doing this 10 years ago because it was too expensive, so it made no sense. And that's one of the things that is great about the fact that computing power has come down in cost. It allows us to do all of these tasks we've been discussing at a cost that makes sense for people, right? Your cost has to fit the problem. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to use it.
And things such as non-fungible tokens were not really thinkable 10 years ago.
Right.
Today, we do use AI even just to own a piece of art. Isn't that
Right.
fantastic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a
So
piece of a property.
Correct.
We have a couple of minutes here, and I want to make sure I address the number one question from our audience and related to this topic. And that has to do with the fact that, you have, if you follow the field, you have Google DeepMind that now has solved a 50-year-old problem with protein folding with a very robust AI algorithm, and has made it available now to universities. I mean, that's kind of the holy grail for biology now. And then on the other side, we have several organizations, including several organizations who are watching us live or will be watching us on video later on, where they don't even have basic data analytics figured out in their organization, and they're trying to to make sense out of all of this. So there's such a diverse range of maturity when it comes to data analytics and then advanced technologies. For someone who is trying to get it started in the right foot, or someone who's hitting the reset button in their organizations and saying, hey, we want to do this right, what are some of the basic things to get started right that people should look at, maybe in terms of structure? I don't know, governance. Is it about having a certain technology platform? What is the key advice you'd have for someone who's getting started in their organization to get it right for value?
Well, let me just start with, you need to have a chief data officer. You have to value data and you have to elevate it. And I would suggest that that person be in the C-suite. In a large organization, if it isn't at that level, you're not going to get the cooperation of everybody participating in the challenge. So to me, that's number one. Jim, what's number two?
Yeah, it's as you said, the leadership is number one, and then creating some kind of a task force around that, cross-functional in particular areas, generally internal areas in the company, and get it right for those internal areas, like finance and invoice to cash is the perfect area. That's where we started. We started in the procure to pay and the invoice to cash, where there's lots of transactions, and start automating. A lot of people don't even understand that we don't even attend to all the actions that we would want to in those areas. We just don't, it doesn't have the ROI to do that with the manpower. And now we don't have enough manpower. So it's a perfect area to get started.
To me, like in any scientific project, problem solving is the same in all areas. I think the first thing is you need to have data and you need to have a very well-defined problem. If you can define your problem well, that brings you the answers. And to do that, actually, the best thing to start with is to consult someone who can tell you what kind of data you need to collect, whether that data is appropriate for your purpose, and just really try to help you isolate your problem.
You should have someone like Bülent on staff, or bring in a consultant. Now, because what I was saying when we talked about our ADER framework, 80% of the challenge is the data, and you don't want to waste a lot of time. So you need people who really understand what's good data, what's useless data, how to tag the data. So you definitely need someone who is a data expert.
Absolutely.
That's the way to begin.
What a masterclass, and thank you so much for sharing this terrific insights. Dr. Bülent, Jim, and Carol, we're all better off from this session. Thank you for your generosity in taking the time to share your expertise with our global audience. Terrific insights and a lot of things for our audience to consider on their journey of excellence and innovation. Thank you so much for being part of our journey today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, there we have it, a tremendous trio of cross-industry leaders on the field of artificial intelligence and applications to financial services. And what a gift to have them with us to wrap up day 3 of the BTOES Financial Services Live Conference. I am very grateful for everyone's engagement throughout these 3 days. For those of you who are going to be watching us later on video, I am also grateful for you to take the time to learn and share this content, that such valuable content that was discussed with these global experts in the past 3 days. I want to thank our sponsors. None of this would have happened without C Prime and Signavio being behind us and allowing us to provide this quality of broadcast around the world at no cost. Thank you, C Prime. Thank you, Signavio, for your industry leadership and allowing us, all of us, to learn, to share, and create this future together. Now, big thank you also to Brian Raffel, our conference director, who does a masterful job of organizing all these pieces with global participants and making it a seamless experience for all of us. And to our CEO, the CEO of Proqis Digital, Vijay Bajaj, for having the vision and executing on that vision of creating environments where great people and great ideas can connect. So I say goodbye for now for all of you. We have still the LinkedIn post on open. If you have questions, commentary, feel free to go there. You can look up under my name, José Pires, on LinkedIn and look for BTOES Financial Services live posting. You're going to see what participants are saying. You're going to see the comments that are happening and the insights that are being shared there, including some questions that people may have that get answered there directly by our speakers. You also have links to every one of the speakers in the conference so that you can connect with that speaker directly and ask questions directly to that speaker if you choose to do so. So for now, thank you so much for spending your time with us and for collaborating and engaging in the conference. And whatever you are in the world, have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye for now.